Hello, so we are going to begin our cave art artwork. And the first thing that I want you to do is you're going to have a piece of paper. It could be tan or it could be white. And I want you to tear the edges and give them a rough look. And you can recycle these if you would like to. So I am just going on the side and I'm just taking a little bit. You don't want to like tear the paper in half. So you have to be super careful here. So see how I just ripped a little tiny piece? And it could come off in little chunks like that. That's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. The problem with this paper is it is too perfect and we want to make it not perfect. So I am going to just keep tearing little edges off. Alrighty, so here I have my cave art paper ready to go. And you are going to have some images to look off of. Basically, they're going to be images of types of cave art animals. We know on the cave walls they drew a lot of animals to represent their lifestyle at the time. And I want you to use, if you want to start this with a pencil, you can start this with a pencil, because that's always the safe bet. So I just want you to look off of these images and draw at least 3 to 5 animals around your paper. And they don't need to be near each other. They can be facing different directions. I'm going to use this paper to help me draw. And just pick a spot and start. So I think I'll start right here. And I'm going to draw just super light with my pencil, just so I know what I want it to look like. And then I will go back over it with oil pastels. And you can make some that are small, some that are big. I'm going to make this one kind of going off the paper a little bit down here in the corner. I know you can't see it now with my pencil, but that's what I'm doing. So 3 to 5, so I have 3, and that seems to be enough for me. And you can take an oil pastel, and I want it to be black. If you don't have oil pastels, you can just do crayons. And you want to go over these animals that you just drew. Now I'm just going to outline them. Alright, after you outline them, you want to kind of smudge them up a little bit. So you can do this just with your finger, or if you don't like the texture, you can wrap like a tissue around your finger. And we just want to smudge them so they look a little old. Now I'm not going too crazy with the smudging. If you go too crazy, it's just going to look like a blob of oil pastel. So I just smudge it a little bit, and it gives it a really cool soft effect. Alright, now if you want to color in some of your animals, you can, or you can just leave them nice and smudgy. But if you are going to color them in, stick to neutral colors. When I say neutral, I mean like not the bright rainbow colors. So you want to think like maybe some dark oranges, browns, stuff like that. Colors that remind you of like the earth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer some oil pastel in here. And I'm using brown. So brown is the color of like mud. This is an assignment where bright, beautiful rainbow colors are not really appropriate. Because back in old times, they didn't have all those kinds of colors of paint like we have today. So they just use colors they can find in nature. So I'm coloring it brown, and then I might go in and layer in a little bit of orange on top. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it's going to warm it up just a little bit. And that's the cool thing about oil pastels and crayons and stuff like that. You can layer colors to create like new colors, just like you can mix paints to create new colors. So I like the look of that, and maybe I will do some more down here. And when you color with the oil pastel, if you want to go back in and smudge your color, you can go in and smudge your color. We are not looking for perfect shapes here and perfect colors. That's not the point of this assignment. So I colored this with orange, now I'm going back in with like a yellow orange on top, just to give it a little more depth. I think I'll leave him like that and leave this guy just the way he is. And now what you want to do, so in cave art we often also see handprints that were on the cave walls. It was sort of like the signature of the artist to prove that they were there. So I want you guys to create hands on your piece. Now I'm just going to do it maybe twice. I don't want you to like put hands everywhere, and so I'm going to focus on areas that I don't have shapes already, so like maybe right here. And I'm just going to lay my hand down, I'm going to take my oil pastel, I'm going to hold it upright, and I trace around every finger. Now this is trickier than it looks, so if you feel like you need to practice on a dry erase board or something, you might want to practice that. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this upside down, and I'm going to make another hand, but this time I'm only going to trace my fingers. I'm not going to trace like the whole hand. So I'm just going to lay my fingers here on the edge. You know what, I think I want to do one more over here, because this side looked a little empty. So these two on the sides, I couldn't even fit my thumb. It's just my 4 fingers here, but this one I was able to fit my thumb. And then the same thing, you want to smudge your hand, because it looks just too neat. You want to smudge it. And same thing, if you want to color in your hands earthy colors, you can do that as well. Alright, now from here, once you have these designs complete, think about adding just little symbols to help maybe describe like what you see outside your cave. Okay, so they tried to communicate with images, so I might, like maybe there's sunshine, so I might draw a sun. Maybe I see mountains, so I'll draw zigzag lines to show that there are mountains nearby. Maybe we see some paw prints to show that there's a type of animal near. And I'm using brown and black and just again all the earthy colors. Maybe we see like scratch marks or claw marks. So here I'm filling in all my empty space. And if you want to smudge any of those designs, you can smudge those. So the next step is we are going to add some watercolor paint. Okay, and I'm going to stick, again, I don't want to be seeing like bright colors, so I'm going to stick with like oranges and yellow oranges, maybe a little bit of red, and I need a bucket of water and a paintbrush. Now because we used oil pastel, the watercolor is going to get onto our paper and nothing's really going to happen to it, because water and oil don't mix. Okay, now because this paper that I'm using is tan, these colors are going to show up a little different. And I'm just going to color in areas. I kind of like how these colors are showing up here because of the tan paper. It's making all the colors a little more dull, not as bright. So here I'm using red, and it doesn't look like a bright red. It looks like a muddy, kind of browny kind of color, which is good. Notice while I'm painting, I can just paint right over these shapes. I don't have to worry about going around them, because like I said, that water and oil don't mix. Now I'm choosing not to paint in this hand, to just leave it the color of the paper, so that is an example of where I'm not going inside or over the oil pastel because I want to leave it plain. Alright, it really looks like a cave wall. This is exciting. Now the last step that I'm going to do, I'm going to get some water on my brush and I'm going to dip it into my black. And now this can be very messy, so make sure you have all your safety precautions in place. You're away from people, you're away from things that are special, like special furniture or clothes. Make sure you have an apron on. And so I put some paint here on my brush, and it's pretty wet, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tap my brush, and it's going to make little dots around my paper. Alright, now, you don't want too many dots. Because that's going to be distracting. If you put so many dots on your paper that we can't see your pretty pictures anymore, that is defeating the purpose. So this just gives a nice finishing touch, makes it look a little more aged, a little older. Alright, so that is done. Now just make any final decisions. If it looks good, you are good and finished. I am just going back with my black oil pastel to make these a little heavier because it looked like they turned a little bit of gray as I painted over everything. So I'm just making these a little darker again. Okay, here is your cave art.